Hey guys, we're back. Episode 8 of our podcast. We are lucky enough to have Patrick Tozzi, Colleyville Heritage High School, Green Devil Garage, and an elite member of our military. We're proud to have him here with us. He's a close friend and family. He's actually, in my recollection, him and his family are our oldest customers when we were playing on the patio outside of the old Taco Bell. Happy to have him. We hope you guys enjoy this podcast. If you guys like this podcast, I'm going to ask you to comment, like, and share. What we're trying to do here is raise awareness to for our friends and what cool things they're doing in their lives. And we're proud to be that platform and kind of what our little podcast is turning into. So again, episode 8, Patrick Tozzi. Hope you guys enjoy. Later.
It was the day before the wedding. I told my wife not to get me a wedding ring. Months before, I was like, I got my wedding ring, just let me take care of it. Mm-hmm. And I knew her, she'd like go overboard. She'd like go into savings to buy the wedding ring.
And you could buy like 6 different ones.
I went to Northeast Mall. The first little kiosk I saw was selling little sterling silver rings.
He's at the little quarter thing. Damn it, it's a different one.
One step up, dude. I freaking spent $17.83 on this freaking wedding ring. I still got it.
No shit.
Heck yeah, dude.
Mine was like one of those
$20?
the tungsten ones that she got for me. And had I been a smarter man or just not a me at that point in my life, I would have gotten a few of them. But once I started thinking, I was like, I got to get a couple of them so I can, if it happens, I can like roll it around on the rocks or something. It still looks a little bit worn. But she was ex-wife's a great chick, smart chick, ain't got nothing bad to say about her. That was all my doings there that just didn't have my shit right.
Do you ever see people who get it's called ring avulsions? Have you ever seen those? Where something gets caught on a guy's wedding ring.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It rips their freaking skin all the way down to the bone. Have you seen that?
No, but it sounds horrible.
Happened to Jimmy Fallon, dude.
Ooh.
Huh?
Yeah, if you look at his hand, it's freaking deformed now.
Really?
I've
seen guys that get a little bit overweight throughout time and never take it off, and then it gets stuck.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when they get like divorced?
It's just there. Or just surgically
They cut their
removing
finger
it.
off.
Rose into their fat skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that like kids, I just remember seeing that like looking at a dude's like wedding ring finger. I'm like, bro, how's it still alive? Because it's just like it's like a tree. It just kind of like grows into
There's like
it.
Oreos and stuff. Like,
Dude.
God. And then getting it sawed off, probably. You thought about that?
Well, there's guys that just with welding, it works off of like arc.
Yeah.
So if you don't do that properly, you got your ring too close to the table or whatever like that, you're working with some like high voltage, man, that thing will just zap right into there, man. And
Are you that precise with something like that? Would you feel comfortable taking off somebody's ring if that situation came?
like
If someone was like got into their ring, like literally it became part of their finger.
I guess it depends on the situation, If this somebody's
And
like,
he wanted
hey
it
man,
off.
I need this thing off bad. I'm like, how willing are you to lose a little bit of blood, man?
So you think you'd hit skin?
I don't know. I mean, if the only thing I would use for that would be like a, little 1.5 inch like air cutoff tool that, I'm gonna sit. He's gonna hold his hand still, and I'm gonna stay as precise as I can, take as little bit of metal off as I can, and
At a time?
Try getting like a tool under there to like
Wait
pop
for
it
an
off
owl.
or something.
You wait for the owl.
Well, metal gets hot, man. You start doing that, especially with whatever it's made of, like gold. Especially silver is the best conductor out there. So you're hitting that, and it's getting hot all the way around.
You're better off cutting your hand off.
Something, man. I don't know. I don't even know. Get put down or something.
Start talking about wedding rings.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I like it.
Yeah.
So far, it's been interesting.
Mine's this is actually the first time I'll tell the full truth, and it's on camera. What happened with mine? So gosh, I was such a piece of shit. Sorry.
Nah, dude, we're all over here together. We're in this together, bro.
I remember I used to keep my wedding ring on my watch because it's still on me. But a lot of what I do, I don't want to get smashed. All these things, and it kind of turned into like, well, it's on there, it's kind of there, and then I can just like talk and do whatever. And not feel bad about it. And I was in the airport in Vegas on the way to my buddy's bachelor party. Yeah. And I remember I had put the ring in my pocket to put it on my watch. And as I pulled the tickets, my old tickets out, is throw them in the trash, not even think about it, meet up with my friends, having a great time. And then I go to put my wedding ring on when I get to the hotel room, and I'm like, oh shit. And she gone.
You just so happened to be at a bachelor party.
Dude.
And you lost your wedding.
Worst, man. The whole trip, the rest of the time, I'm like,
It's
how?
believable, brother.
Dude, it was so
It
bad.
is.
Well, the whole trip just ended up, everything that lined up was bad.
Premonition.
Man, so we're there for the bachelor party, and I figure we're going to Vegas, and have a good time, but we go to like the old Vegas. It was just terrible. It was awful. And the guy's wedding that we're going to didn't even tell us what his plan was for this. I figure we're just in for like, a few days of debauchery, and the next day we're getting up early. He's like, all right, we're going to go get the boats ready. We're going to go to whatever, the slip is, the river there, and we're going to go out. I'm like, all right, cool. Okay, we can do that. Go for the day, and we're coming back out here. And, with what I do for a living, I have a lot of things that I have that if I'm going camping, I'm going to bring, and I'm going to be really, really comfortable. Well, it comes out on the way there that we're going camping. I'm like, dude,
Tell me.
why would you not say anything about this? Like, I figure you knew. I'm like, dude, I don't live here. Like, I don't know this is like the battle rhythm you guys have. Like, we're just going to go cook ribs and just go hang out at some place for a dude's bachelor party with a bunch of guys. All right, forgive me for assuming we were going to have fun. So on the way out there, I find out that you don't get any reception at all, as my phone's losing reception. And I'm in Vegas for a bachelor party that my wife at the time is, obviously skeptical on. So, not able to get a hold of her. I'm going to call her.
She wouldn't answer?
No, I didn't have reception anymore. So we finally get to a stopping point, like a good part of the way through the day. I haven't talked to her in like a good while. And she's a firefighter, so girl busts her butt. She's a hard worker. She's got a lot going on. Last thing she needs to do is worry about her dumbass husband. So finally get to a stopping point, and I know shit. I throw on my flip-flops, and I just start trekking. I was gone. We were in some like canyons too, some good stuff. So I'm like climbing part of these things. I'm like, it took me an hour to get to a point where I can get some reception and climbing mountains, all this stuff. And finally like, yes, call her, right to voicemail. I was like,
Oh, dude, but talk about love, man.
dude, I got lucky. I called, left a message.
You
I'm
climb
like, hey,
mountains to get to that like one bar,
man,
you know?
It definitely was love, but it was also fear. A lot of fear.
Well, they're,
Dude,
kind of like partners, fear and love,
Yeah. She's a cool chick for sure.
Fear and love.
I was terrified, but I was able to make the call, and then in my own feel a little bit better that I made the effort.
Sure.
Then we go down there, and the rest of the night was a blast. Ended up punching one of my buddies right in his forehead because he just thought he was being funny and just like threw a beer can at me, empty one, but it lands like bottom flat right into my forehead, and I just saw red.
Yep.
And the next thing I knew, I'm on top of him with my hand back cocked, and our buddy's dad is there. He's like, Pat! I'm like, I look at him, and he's just looking at me like a little, just scared little rabbit, and I was like, Pat! And just hit one right in his forehead. I was like, don't do it again.
So we know that you have a military background.
Uh-huh.
You think that for some of the people who might not know, would you go into some of your training that have led you to this point where you reacted?
Man, I think a lot of people that watch this that do know me in my past, that was just always been me, just kind of reactive, and I really didn't take much flack from really anybody. And pain is a motivator for one, and two, when I feel pain, it just turns something on different in me than probably a lot of people, and I just kind of react to it. And next thing I know, I'm on top of my buddy who definitely deserved it through all the things. That was his second or third time to get punched that night. And, you know,
I think after like the first or second one, he calmed down a little bit. But
no, some people just,
He wanted it.
he got it. And then he cried afterwards. And he was like, "You're my best friend. You hit me in the face." Yeah. Oh, man. Poor guy.
I don't know, man. I kind of want to know like the hardest exercise and training from the military that you've ever done. Like
What was
tested your limits physically that made you like, okay, it's either sink or
mind,
swim.
physical? Where is it at, man?
So there was two in particular. I mean, when I first started training, like one of the first things we did was a 4-mile conditioning soft sand run in boots. And man, I was just, you know, fortunate enough growing up that athleticism was never a hard thing for me and never bugged me at all. I was always in the front of pack for kind of everything. But running in soft sand, it takes some technique, takes a lot of hamstring, a lot of things that you don't necessarily work on. And being short and having a short stride and small feet definitely didn't help either. We take off on this run, and I'm like, cake. And then I notice everybody else is going a lot faster than me. And then they keep going, and I'm in the back with a bunch of other guys that are slow, and I'm like, oh man, this is getting real bad. And if you don't keep up on conditioning runs, you get extra conditioning during the run, so it pays to keep up. And I mean, I tried, but I couldn't. And
You couldn't make it the 4 miles?
oh, I made the 4 miles. I mean, that wasn't the case, but you know, when you're running 4 miles in soft sand and boots and pants at, you know, a 7-minute
if you've
mile
if
pace,
you've ever
you
ran on
know,
a beach,
there's some guys that can just go.
Yeah, even without boots, it's really hard.
Oh man, the soft sand is a big divider right there. Hard sand, cool, easy. Soft sand, I mean, it's definitely
Smyrna
different.
Beach, same thing. You know, very soft sand.
Mhm.
When I played basketball, like just for fun, I'd try to train with my aunt out in Florida, and New Smyrna Beach had that kind of sand, and I would do like exercises because it would work out your calves and those muscles that you don't use very often.
Oh yeah.
That you're just walking on flat surfaces. So with boots, man, that's tough.
You know, I think about the psychological part with the discouraging nature of, you know, you're in peak physical condition. You know, you're in great shape, right? It's like you're gonna have to hit points like that, not only during your training to get through, but you're gonna hit points like that in life. What other points in training did you like say, I can't do this anymore? Like, what was it the mental part of that and getting past that? Of being in the back.
I mean, I've just always been competitive. I don't like not being good at things. I don't like not being one of the best in things that I'm doing. And never once, I don't think, have I been the best. But, you know, I'm always going to strive to be up there. I know that the only thing that limits anybody really is here. I mean, aside from, you know, not having limbs or something like that, it's all a mental struggle. It's all a mental game. And if you tell yourself you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. If you tell yourself you can do it, you'll get there. It may not happen the first time, second time, third time, but you'll get there, and you're going to figure out the pathway to get there, how you got there. And then in doing that, I mean, there's going to be other people behind you that have had adversity with it or are trying to get there, and then you'll be able to better help them with what you've been through.
So true, man. Mindset and your brain, it's like the most underestimated tool that a human being can have.
Oh yeah.
Your brain is so much powerful than you think, and man, it makes a big difference. When you tell yourself, I can't, I won't, your body's going to do exactly what you're saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's trained to do, right?
Mm-hmm. It's so much more capable than
So good to be reminded of that.
than you actually think you can do. I mean, aside from I'll never be an astronaut. I mean,
Right.
Math ain't my thing. I'm not gonna be one. Just the way it is. I mean, so you know, you grow up. You know, I don't have any kids, but tell your kid you can be anything you want to be. I mean, there's limiting factors
Sure.
to that.
Physical things. I get
When
it.
your kid's like just drawing in something, trying to stay in the lines, and he's 14 years old and still can't stay in there, probably not going to go to NASA. You know what I mean? He's not going to get there. But maybe he's really good with his hands and working on motorcycles or something like me,
One thing
and that.
we've done a lot of this, the holiday season. You come back home, you come to Saviano's.
Oh, yeah.
You always make the trip to come visit us. It makes us feel really special. You're one of our oldest customers. I'll tell a quick story that the first week we were opened at Saviano's, my dad opened up the old Taco Bell. I remember it's a memory that'll stick with me forever. You, your sister, your mom and dad came to eat that night. Your mom and dad were inside talking to my parents that evening after you guys had dinner. And you and your sister and me and Anthony were just playing on the patio furniture. It was like we're living in an apartment at this time in Texas. My dad's really, given his all to try to make something of himself. Now he's here in Texas. He left his family,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a point in me and Anthony's life where we didn't really understand what was going on, but looking back, we kind of did. Now we understand. But that night, man, you guys being there with us, playing with us, we just felt like it was home. You have that memory that sticks there forever.
Mm-hmm.
You have the bonds with certain people, regardless of the fact that you are an Italian. Your dad's so Italian.
It's the best, man.
It's like we had that. There's just something there, man. Like there's something there that we'll have. And as the longer our relationship goes on, the more special it gets. It's just how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
What I was trying to get to is out of talking with you this holiday season and getting to spend time with your mom as well. I don't know how you got into building motorcycles. I know about a lot of your military career.
Mm-hmm.
You know that I'm fascinated with that, and so you kind of feed me little tidbits here and there. But how did you learn how to be a mechanic and be a custom bike builder? How did that happen?
Man, I think the biggest thing, great family growing up, but we're never a rich family, never had anything. In the school that we all went to, I'm pulling my piece of crap farm truck up and to some kid's BMW M3 or whatever, and there's a Volvo over there and a Corvette over here. And that's right, man, all sorts of crazy stuff. And we didn't have a whole lot. We had everything we needed. My parents were great, provided everything we needed. But outside of what was necessary, we had to figure out. So I started riding motorcycles when I was like 9. My parents got us this little 50cc dirt bike, and I just took to it. And my dad always had a motorcycle, and I got into that. And then as you grow up older, you're just like, what? Chicks dig motorcycles, chicks dig like guitars and things like that. So I started riding motorcycles, playing guitar and all that. And I got good at both of those, but the chick thing never really seemed to catch until later on. But that's just kind of it, man. For whatever reason, mechanics made sense. And then remember off of 360, there's all sorts of buildings and stuff there. Remember the place we go mudding?
Yeah.
I took my...
Mosier Valley?
No. 360, right across. You was Bedford Road. You crossed right over that left-hand side. It was all the time before we got big here.
Yeah. Okay. I got.
Yeah.
We got stuck in the mud there.
We got stuck in the mud. Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
took that farm truck of mine. It was extended cab, extended bed, Chevy 3/4 ton. Not meant for any of the stuff I was doing with it. So I burned the transmission right out of that thing. Had to talk to the neighbor, and at 14, 15 years old, when I'm swiping my own vehicle that I bought for my grandma to go mudding, I'm replacing a transmission. I was like, I kind of like this. I started building model cars and stuff when I was younger. And then I sold that truck, and I got a 74 Challenger. I think I was 16, 17 when I got that, and I love that car. And I just started rebuilding it and just figuring things out on my own. And a lot of mistakes were made, and I caught that thing on fire like 3 different times, just trying to work on my own stuff. And the one time I listened to my parents ever growing up, before I listened or went to boot camp, the car was running and everything, and my mom, she still says to this day it was my dad, but I know it wasn't because he was dead. She was like, I really think you should sell the Challenger and put the money in a savings account and this and that. And This was just after I was given the choice of a 5.5-year jail sentence or go in the military. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start doing the grown-up thing, and you know, I'll sell the car and go that route. And you know, fast forward however many years later when they come out with the new Challengers and stuff, you know, the car that I had and had done myself that I sold for $1,700 would have brought, you know, 12, 13 G's at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, patience, everybody.
Yeah,
Patience.
right.
Just wait. Let things develop. Oh, why? Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's in the past, and I mean, I think there's some sort of law that, you know, if I admit to any sort of guilt or whatever, they can't get me now. It's been 15 years. So, I was a fighter. I mean, anytime. I mean, there was numerous times that I was called, and we were like, "Hey, we're getting into it. We're fighting this crew. You know, come on out." Cool. Let's do this. Yeah, and then I'd be on one side. I'm like, "Oh man, that's so and so over there." I'm like, "Sorry guys, we'll be over on that side." So you know, I was into a lot of different things at that point. There was a group of kids that, for whatever reason, were, you know, if you're dumb, you got to be tough. And they fought. They wanted to fight us every single weekend. Every weekend. At one point, I beat one of them up in the parking lot at the mall, and then afterwards, shook his hand and was like, "Hey man, you good?" And he's like, "Man, you hit really hard." I'm like, well, yeah, you kind of have to when you're fighting somebody. It's just kind of the point of the whole thing. So after that, for whatever reason, our groups were just always fighting. There were the skater kids and then the wrestling team, and we were just beating them up every weekend. And they got to the point where, like, well, this is really painful. So they started messing with our vehicles. Italian, don't mess with my family. So they busted out a bunch of windows in my sister's car, like wrote stuff all over it. And my sister, I mean, she's a sweetheart, and you guys know, when going through school, she didn't have a lot of friends and stuff. She's a very quiet band girl, and I'm this boisterous, loud fighter guy. Very polar opposites. And then they knocked out a window in my truck, kicked a big dent in it. So at this point, I'm like, all right, this is a little too much. So I fashioned a bit of a weapon out of some stuff from the truck. Can't lead into it too much. I think that kid's in jail anyways. But set up a dealing of some sorts, and this kid shows up, and you know, I had my reputation, and he didn't want to face me one-on-one. That's why he's beating up my vehicles. So he shows up, and there's a whole bunch of people there. They're like, he's like, well, what's going on? And then the C's part, and I walk through, and the last things I ever heard that dude say was, "Oh," and then it was just on, and beat him up pretty good, and you know, other things kind of happened, and he went to ICU for a few days, and I thought it was all gone. 6 months later, I have another assault charge pending, and then I get a call from Detective White in South Lake. He's like, "Mr. Tozzi," yeah, I was at work. He explained a few different situations, and he's like, "So, here's the deal. We can either come pick you up at your apartment at blah, 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 blah on Central Pipeline." I'm like, "Well, that is the exact place I live, so, okay, you know." He's like, "Or you can turn yourself in tomorrow." And definitely didn't want him to come to my apartment for various reasons. So I talked to my boss, who was my buddy's dad. I worked at a car shop out in Bedford. And I told him, I was like, "Hey, man, it looks like I'm going to have to be absent from work for a little bit." And he knew about all our fighting and stuff. And he was like my second dad. He's big guy, was incredible. Told him the situation. He's like, "Well, did you win?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's when I'm going to jail." And he's like, "All right, cool. Well, here's my lawyer if you need it. Now your spot's safe until you get out." So on the way in, I kind of had a good feeling about things not being so great for me. I called up a recruiter and kind of told them my situation, and they're like, "All right, well, let us know how everything works out." And they wanted me so bad that they were actually waiting for me when I bailed myself out. But yeah, that's kind of what put me there. I turned myself in, and they gave me the assault charges. I was looking at the window and all that, and knowing how long these other cats had been in there, and I finally see my name. And I actually went for things went so bad, and he spent enough time in the hospital that it actually went up to an attempted murder charge. So that was I got very fortunate that my dad was, chief of police of Colleyville for a while, one of the top detectives in New York City, and all the other things that he did. Fortunately for me, his good reputation and good friends brought me good fortune. And the judge told me that I could either spend the next 5.5 years in jail or get out of my state was his ending there. So, oh yeah, I was like,
Did you know where you were going specifically?
well, I started out with the Marine Corps actually, because that's something my dad said. Had always had good discipline, and this was in 2002, right? 2003, sorry, 2003, just after the war was really kicking. I was like, well, I want to go get some, so let's do it. And shortly thereafter, my brother and I kind of started talking, and he told me about his job, and I was like, that sounds like something I could do. So I actually switched and joined the Navy, and that's when actually our dad passed away around that time. So I stayed here a little bit longer to take care of the family, all that, and hopped in the Navy and did a few things, made it through that whole thing, and been rocking it for almost 15 years at this point now. So.
You understand people that know you, that are friends with you, that close to you, how awesome that is?
Man,
And thank you for your service.
that's my
Hold
pleasure.
up.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your service.
It's my pleasure.
He enjoys it.
Well, hold on a second, though, because
Hey,
I
I'm
need to
fortunate.
back up for just a quick minute.
Yeah.
Because something entered my brain I didn't even think about. I think I blocked it out of my memory. All right. I started high school I graduated 06 there. Were you you were the leading wrestling champion at Colleyville, and then in the state you were ranked?
I was ranked, but I kept getting in trouble, so I really got to do anything with it.
Did anybody want you to go?
I got some calls, but I mean, once I went to jail, they can't really do anything with that. And I was such a risk at that point. I think any college looking at me would have been like, oh, this dude's wild. I don't know if we can contain that shit. They would have been able to.
At that point in your life, you needed to do what you did.
Yeah, I needed that structure. Athleticism, stuff like that, has never been an issue for me. I've always, yes ma'am, no sir, always had manners, but man, as soon as I was given a little bit of leash to kind of, go astray, man, I'm just charging, I'm going. Like, that seems fun. And then I get the choke collar yanked, I'm like, that was a bad idea. That was a bad idea.
Yeah, dude, I'm pretty sure that you beat me up.
I would never beat you up.
No, I'm not even kidding, man. You were in a gymnasium on those mats, and I was going in to lift weights because I wanted to get big. And the coach, who happened to be my social studies teacher, as I was a freshman with big glasses on.
Come over here.
No, he said, Anthony, come over here.
Uh-huh.
If you don't remember this, tell me. But
I'm trying
dude,
to. 'Cause
he
I would have
put
known it was
me
you.
up against, I'm pretty sure it was you, and you didn't want to do it because you knew it was me, and you broke my glasses. Like you threw me around the mats like a rag doll.
I would have had you at least take them off. I would think. But I was a massive asshole then. So, I mean, there's a high chance because I could have been like, man, I'm going to beat up Anthony. I'm going to hit up Jack and be like, hey, I just
No,
roughed
because
him
the
up.
coach was like, Tozzi, over here. Alfieri. No, I'm not. I'm not.
I mean, I don't remember things from yesterday, so there's a possibility.
Wrestling and have regrets.
That happened.
That you could have gone into collegiate field and done that or no?
Man, I don't necessarily say regrets because, I mean, it would have taken me in a complete different path in life, and I've been very fortunate. I mean, a lot of negative things just as in everybody's life, but I mean, I've been able to find that positive path and all of that. But I mean, just like butterfly effect, that one little different thing could have, changed the whole course. But I do think back on things with how much I've matured and learned at this point now of how I learn and my deficiencies in how I take on information, stuff like that. That I didn't have the parents that sat with me and helped me with homework or sports or anything like that. It's kind of just like, hey, go do your thing, figure it out. And now that I see that now, say hopefully someday I do have a family. I can help out in the ways that I saw that didn't help me growing up. So I just kind of figure it out, and I think back on my talent and my my drive to do these things, and with the knowledge I have now of how I learn and how I pick things up, do I think I could have done very well? Definitely. But where I'm at now in life, I'm very I'm lucky to be where I am, for sure.
Well, you've earned it.
I don't even know if it's called earn it or just kind of been stumbling my way through and find like a good hold, and there it is. I'm gonna give it a
That's
give it
a
whirl.
story, man. You sentenced to 5 years, picked the military.
I got
And
lucky.
you've done really extremely well.
And soared with it. Didn't do just okay.
Right.
You've been a leader. You've been a leader in it. You're in charge of now after 15 years. You have.
He has a very high ranking.
You have a high ranking, and you now give back to these kids. Not only have you had some great leadership mentors in your life, now you're able to not only do it in the same regard in the military, but also in your business. You're able to
And
implement those same things.
I think one of the best things I heard, just kind of growing up and doing what I've done the last 15 years, is learning a lot from leadership, but I think I've learned more from mistakes leaders have made, picking up on where, I think would have worked better, things like that. You take a lot home with you with seeing a good leader, like, man, that was awesome what they did. But I think I've learned a lot more in what they didn't do. And that's those areas that, we've got our strength right here, and we've spoke about it before. We keep working on our strength. It's like high points and like a wave chart. We keep working on those high points, they keep going, but these low points stay kind of low. If you kind of work on all of it, everything's going to kind of come up at the same time. Got to work on I'm not a big fan of working on just your weaknesses, because just having a flatline leader doesn't really work, because we all have different strengths, different weaknesses. You guys, I forget what you were mentioning earlier, almost actually brought it up. I think it was something about, you talk about the doors here, and you're like, man, I didn't want to do these, but Anthony wanted to do them. And just having those different opinions, those different things, that's what helps to make success. That's what makes teams. You don't have, all the quarterbacks on the field. You have all these different specialties that is what makes everything strong. All these different concentrations makes things a team. You have just, if you guys thought the exact same through all that, you would be in a complete different place.
So
here.
true. And dude, me and Anthony's yin and yang, dude, works together. Like, we're lucky. We are really lucky. We've had crazy disagreements and fights, but that we have a mutual love and respect. As we get older, the respect of our relationship has become. It's so cool to see the respect level of our relationship to get, more, because that was one of those weaknesses. Like we were saying with the weakness, that was one of our weaknesses, and I worked at it, and it got better, because I think innately we want to work on our weaknesses more.
Mm-hmm.
But after talking to you about working on your good points, it makes a lot of sense. It's something that I wouldn't have thought about.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some piece to that, because you can, on your good things, you can get really good at them.
Yeah.
You can only hope that you can get better at the things that you're not good at. Right or wrong?
Yeah, 100%.
Bring them up a little bit, and then put those wave charts on top of each other, and kind of like fingers. You know, you got you and Anthony like this, and you just put it together, man. Everything just kind of levels out right there. Everything, you know, your strengths are still up here. His strengths are up here, and they're different. And you put them right together, man, and just levels everything out. That's what makes it a team. And it's neat for me to see, you know, I get snapshots every time I come in, you know, once, twice a year or whatever, coming in. I see the different things and how things are working. But the consistency that I have seen for 25 years is just the family environment. We talk about that foundation that you guys have set so much between, you know, your mom and dad and you guys. It's just, I mean, it's so cool to see. I've been coming here for 25 years since, you know, you guys started out over there. But I'm not treated any different, any better than the person that just flew in town, heard about Saviano's. They come in, they get treated the same as they come in the door, as the same as they come out the door, just as I did. And I grew up with you guys. And that's, I mean, that's success right there, and just setting that foundation. And those people are always going to tell the next person, the next person. It's, you know, that foundation is just key, man. It's great.
So, you know.
Thank you.
Dude,
No,
thank you.
no, thank you guys. And espresso is awesome too.
You need more than one espresso tonight, buddy. So last year, we sat down for a second, and I was, you know, I've been watching your Instagram. And I'm still so new at social media, and I was watching his Instagram, and I see you on there just talking, and I'm like seeing like 500-600, you know, views on it. I'm like, and this is like, you know, within 24 hours of you posting. I'm like, Patrick, how do you do it, man? I'm like, you just get on there and talk. You have such a good way about you, and I found myself while you're making these live posts, I find myself on watching you because I'm intrigued. You have the inspiring stories. You're not afraid to tell. You're not afraid
To open up.
and tell stories like people might feel a bit of shame about. You're like, screw that. You're so comfortable with who you are right now, here and now. The man you are. You know that when you get home, you're looking at the mirror and you're saying, yeah. Not in a boastful, arrogant way.
No.
In a way that you've earned the right.
I mean, I think.
And I just want to tell you, I want to tell you, we love it.
No, definitely, man.
And the more of that we get, the better it is for us, dude. I eat it up. I crave it, man. And I think the majority of people around who get to enjoy that, we all love it, man. We all love it, dude.
I appreciate it. It's good to hear. I mean,
Good people find good people.
the law of attraction. I think we spoke about that quite a bit, and you know, we talk about different books and things like that. You know, Tim Ferriss is my all-time favorite author. His book, The 4-Hour Work Week, all of his 4-hour series are like my secondary Bible. I bring it everywhere with me, and you know, I think just hearing the way he puts things out kind of in literature and even through his podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, I am me. I mean, you're going to like it or you're not, you know, or love it, whatever. And I just go for it, man. And that's a lot of the stuff that he's kind of put out in there, you know, over-analyzing, overthinking and stuff like that. Just go for it. And another great book was The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough, you know. And it was a great book on and the guy was our age that wrote it when he wrote it. And just kind of the stuff that he had in there is just, you know, if you're going to let all that stuff bother you, it's just going to continue to bottle up and continue to bother you. And like in business, man, I've learned, and then talking to my buddy we were talking about earlier, Curtis, he's like, dude, sometimes you just have to fire your customers. And for me, I've seen at Green Devil that once a year I get that one person that you just cannot please. You can't do it. I mean, short of just giving him my business, I just can't make this person happy. And once you just kind of realize that that's the customer that I just don't want anyways, hey, I'll do whatever I can to, you know, suffice and make things happen. But after this, we're good. Just don't worry about coming back. And then there's great customers. So those customers are great ones that I'm happy with. We have a great relationship, all that. The reviews for the shop speak for themselves.
Definitely.
They're going to bring in more people. That one person that's not happy, they're the person just not happy in life anyways. And the law of attraction, when we were talking about it, just
Yep.
that's what's going to continue to bring people in. The atmosphere you guys create here.
Well, you know,
people
you
feel
have
like family.
you have a good product. You have you. You know,
You can count on you.
and your team. Okay, so you're always gonna have that person, and that's something that I struggled with, and every once and now and then I do. But man, who's really happy? You know, they're not happy people. You're right.
Yeah.
They have something going on in their lives that either you feel for them or you don't want them around. And I'm with you. I don't want those types of people in the restaurant.
No, when you're actively giving your heart and your soul
Oh.
to your business and to your customers, which is really, and your employees, and you're leading the charge. You're the one in front, leading the charge. When you're that person, it's easy
Yeah.
to say,
Bye.
to remove the cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, speaking of cancer, you probably heard that post of mine, you know. Last I was deployed, my former business partner bounced on me, and, you know, a lot of crappy things happened through that. It was my best friend in the world, and I still won't say a bad thing about the guy, you know. You have to, you know, some people, their actions, they do things to justify, or say things even to justify their actions, no matter how much it hurts somebody, whatever. It is what it is. You know, when it comes down to something, you know, if you got to make a decision, you think it's going to hurt somebody, take a step back, look at it, and see where your end state, where you want to be, and if the things you're saying are actually factual, or you're just justifying, you know, what that action really is. So yeah, I think that law of attraction, kind of all those things, and in justifying those bad things that you kind of do, man, they're all kind of intertwined, and you bring in the right people when you create that environment, whether it be, you know, your secondary and, you know, in that whole thing, or whether it be just your customer base as well.
Has that transition been after seeing the post? I know that Green Devil has gone through a transition. But Green Devil is as strong today as it's ever been.
Yeah, man. We're just the foundation. I mean, as you said, I'm candid. I'll say however it is, and I really don't care. I mean, everybody sees the kind of stuff we pump out, and I'm never going to settle for any half-assed product coming out, no matter how long it takes me. When a customer leaves my shop, they will be happy, and they will pay what's fair. Even if it takes me twice as long, I'm going to make sure that it's done correctly. Foundation was definitely rocked. You know, unfortunate, fortunate, whatever you want to call it. This last deployment, I got banged up pretty good, and ended up having to come back early. I spent a few weeks in the hospital, a couple of surgeries, but brought me back early to where I had some free time to actually put some bandwidth into the restructure. And, you know, with, you know, my former business partner leaving, left a lot of things unturned and looked at, and it really forced me as an owner to really dig in more and look at a lot of different things.
Reevaluate.
So, exactly.
Right,
And
uncomfortable time. I think something you didn't really want to do, but you had it.
man, it sucked. It was a kick to the pills, man. And, you know, I'm working half. I really couldn't really use my left leg too much. So I'm scooting around the shop on like a little, you know, shop chair, and just, you know, sitting as much as I can. I lived out of my shop for 3 months after I came back, because my house was rented out, and I didn't really feel like I was just, you know, my divorce was just finalized kind of then, and she pretty much got everything. So didn't really have much anything. My back room, I had my bed, a recliner, and a little TV stand. And I lived out of the shop, and I worked on the computer doing everything I could to just reset things, and, you know, still ironing some stuff out, but I've got a good plan. We were talking about it earlier, you know, there's no end state for Green Devil, but my reset of my foundation, I have an end state for. So I've planned everything up until that. I started, this is where I want to be, and everything from there I've planned backwards. So just to get to where I was at that point. So it was definitely a kick to the pills. But, you know, being every situation you have in life, there's a positive path, there's a negative path. And if you just take that second, like for us at work, we say kind of let the situation develop, take a pregnant pause, whatever that means. That's just what we say. I don't know if chicks pause when they're pregnant or whatever, but whatever.
I've never heard it.
I've never been pregnant. I don't know.
Not me either. Thank God. But you know, we take a step back, let the situation develop. You know, say something's happening over here and it's drawing your attention, but the real danger is over off to this side. If you pay attention too much what's going on here, you're not gonna notice that. So, you know, unfortunate circumstances happen to everybody, but there's a positive and a negative path that you can take. If you just take that step back, you can see that next, you know, for visual learners, you can see that next terrain feature that will allow you to get out of harm's way or whatever. And, you know, when it comes to, you know, these situations, you know, with my marriage not working out, it forced me to, I mean, I hit bottom. You know, at the same time that happened, my business partner bounced, and my ex-wife's a great chick. I actually called her when I was deployed, when my business partner left. I was like, hey, like, am I that bad of a person? Like, what's happening right now? And we had a great talk, man. She's probably more candid than I am. I mean, she just says how it is, man. She's a badass chick.
That's good to have that human that you
Oh,
can go to.
dude, you're like an
Yeah.
open book.
That's cool, man.
It's ain't definitely not easy going back and, you know, having pride and talking to your ex-wife. And,
Yeah, man.
I mean,
Especially took everything from you.
you know what, and that wasn't her, you know, that was my guilt in, you know, I actually left her, it was Christmas Day 2 years ago. Yeah. And it just got to that point where, you know, neither of us were putting in the effort that we needed to or should have. She's an alpha female, alpha male, and, you know, she's a great chick, and we, bam, hit it off like that when we first met. And, you know, it got to the point on both sides where we just kind of became roommates and weren't putting the effort in. And, you know, I just made the call, just like, you know what, I remember this, everything happened. I was digging a ditch because she kept running over a part of the yard that had drainage issues, and I was pissed. And I'm digging holes.
I know what you're saying. Like,
Dude.
my sprinklers are so screwed up right now. Like, I don't
can't believe
even
the
park in the
problems we're talking
driveway, and it's like 2 cars can fit in the driveway, and there's still like broken sprinklers. It does not make any sense.
Oh, dude,
You know, okay, I want to say something.
What do you do about that?
you just learn to kind of just let it go, man. And that's what you know.
Let it go. How many sprinklers are you gonna break?
Man, what's bad about sprinklers being broke? Who gives a
There's
shit?
no need.
Then you don't got a wife no more. What's bad about that? A lot.
That's true.
Could
A
have
lot.
been worse if you had kids, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
It
man.
would have been a lot worse situation if you didn't have kids.
Now I got 50-50 custody of my dogs. Peanut and
Getting
Duke.
the problem solving. When you're confident you can solve a problem, when you're confident you can solve it, a small problem or a big problem, life becomes a little more easy. Because no matter what comes your way, you believe you're going to get through it. Right or wrong? Yes or no?
Yeah, of
You
course.
see that?
No, you're gonna get through it. Of course.
I think force you to be more creative. If you're confident,
Definitely.
you're going to be more creative
Yeah,
and
you
figuring out.
cement the
different
whole
way.
entire yard.
Live in Arizona, man. Turf field.
There you go. There are no sprinkler systems anymore.
Yeah.
You know, we don't fix any of them.
All right.
That's the solution.
It's we can do that, but I mean, then you know our second and third effects off of that decision are, you know, ozone and you know,
Okay, you're right.
yeah, we got a few things going down there.
Powder.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I was like, don't
Man,
give me
you
more
know-
tools for my toolbox. I mean, I don't need them.
No.
Oh man, but dude, adverse things that come up in life. I mean,
You're so good at tackling those, man.
it comes from just making so many stupid decisions that and in just like short amounts of time that you have to figure out how to get out of them, and having people ahead of you that have been through those things. I mean, I've gotten in trouble in my time in the military that, fortunately, going through the times that we were going through, they needed to retain guys, retain the knowledge base that a lot of us have had, and we were able to kind of circumvent and get around these things in certain ways. And nowadays, guys aren't as fortunate. But I've been through these things, and I've seen these things and how to go about it, and I'm able to use the shitty things that I've gone through to help other people, whether that be work or outside experiences as well, through marriage. I mean, my brother and I went through kind of the same thing at the same time, and we're both readers. I'm very, unfortunately, through what I've done for so many years, very numb to feelings and things. So I read, and it displays situations to where I can see where, how, or whatever I should feel, or how other people feel through things. So it makes it more of a tactic than anything else. But over time, it becomes a real thing once you realize it. Like meditation helped me to meditate every day. Helped me to realize, I'm a workaholic. I work sun up to sundown, but I thought it was just because I worked. It's dealing with my anxiety. And in meditation, I was able to realize that. And now when I get anxious, I'm like, all right, I'm anxious. This is how I can kind of bring myself down off of that. But it's all just through
without
experience.
having to rely on a prescription.
Yeah.
You're able to do it internally. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Well, you can start taking positive. You can start with one good choice, and then as you make more good choices, they actually accumulate, right? And then the bad choices are obvious. That's what I've noticed. If you just continue making good choices, and you know what they are most of the time.
Like we're talking about, taking that step back and looking at it.
Right. You know which way is going to lead you downhill, and you know which way is going to lead you into a better path.
Mm-hmm.
You take those better paths one or two times, you start to realize pretty quickly that, what am I doing down the wrong path?
Yeah.
There's no point. Keep going the good path, because that's the answer. You just solved your problem.
Doing hood rat shit with your friends is fun until an extent you're just like, oh man, that's a bad idea. Now I'm in jail. Grandma gonna come bail me out.
Yeah. A lot of stuff can happen whenever you're making one bad decision on top of more bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I tell you, what's cool about with the point of life that we're at, I think, is that we have all made bad decisions. Some of us more than others, right?
That's a complete judgment from your behalf.
I'm just saying. I was basically
Mr. Perfect.
He's just sitting
You guys over here who are fucked up.
We need to give Jack his own chair with like.
But, I mean, if you get a lot of these bad mistakes, like you're saying, out of the way, I think at the point of life we're at right now, is that we all can recognize, even on a small scale and a large scale, right? Not letting your emotions run your decision making.
Yeah.
Controlling your emotion is, to me, my biggest struggle is to control that emotion right off the bat.
Okay.
I know that when I allow my emotion to take over a situation, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to turn out bad. My perception of my employees, my vision gets blurred, and you say ugly things.
Yeah, but you can control it.
Absolutely. The controlling it is taking a step back, assessing the situation.
And being in control of yourself.
Exactly.
Having more of an analytical mind when it comes to kind of looking at everything. Yeah, that was my Achilles heel, is emotional decision making. And I think that's a lot of the American mindset too, is instant gratification on things instead of just taking that time out, because everything is so readily available.
Now it is. Everything is.
Everything. I mean, man, Uber Eats is the greatest thing ever, but it's terrible at the same time, man. I eat really clean, I'm doing great throughout the week. And at like 9:30, after I've already ate my meals for the day, I'm like, man, I'm kind of hungry. Man, I look at this, I'm like, man, look at that sweet frog. Give me some froyo to the house. I'm like, oh, it was a bad idea, but it's so good.
Keep that praline bluebell in the freezer.
That's it. Yeah.
I don't know if we have bluebell out
I
there.
want want to go so far into your military stuff. I just don't. I know there's some stuff I just can't.
I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. I really don't.
Dude, like I said, man, you guys ask whatever. I'll answer what I can.
Because there's so much. Like I know
I
that
love this story.
there's people that you know that are kind of full of it. You know, they come in and they're like, I'm this guy and I've done this and this and that. And you know, you try to take them on their word, you know, but you're not like that. I know that. So it's
I
like
like the story when you knock that guy out.
Oh, which one?
when
And how?
something almost it could have gone bad. Remember? The guy was supposed to fix something, he didn't fix it. You don't want to tell the story.
I'm trying to think.
like his air conditioning.
And when he got back, he was in the lunch line, you punched him, knocked him out clean because he didn't fix the thing he was supposed to fix.
I'm trying to come back. I don't know. There's a lot of times
I'm talking
when
about
people done dumb things in
overseas.
there.
When
Overseas.
you were overseas,
What was he supposed to fix?
the jam.
Oh man, yeah, that one. Nah, I actually never hit that dude. So that guy, he was supposed to.
Well, he got scared and got you in trouble.
He got me a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave a very big lesson learned here is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I had a goal that I wanted to meet and something that I mean, in my mind, there's nothing in my way of. You know, I'm good at my job. I have a good reputation at what I do. You know, this is the next step I want to make. And I already had everything kind of paperwork-wise set for getting over there. And, you know, other than just the tryout portion of it. And, yeah, old boy was supposed to fix my gun, and he didn't. And I spent a couple days with a gun that I had to single cycle every time I shot, and made a very bad situation a lot more discerning, made it very difficult. So when I got back, you know, it was one of those things, all right, I'm back, I'm good, I'm in one piece, be all right. I go to the gym, and I got my headphones in, and I cannot hear my music for the life of me over the garbage he's playing. You know, there's like Taylor Swift and Britney and stuff. He's jumping around. I'm like, oh, good about having fun. But just before this, you know, I had a really bad thing happen, and two of our guys got hurt, you know, really bad. And, you know, after, you know, seeing those type of things, you know, kind of all business, you know, at that point. And I'm in the gym to kind of, you know, keep my peace of mind. And, you know, iron sharpens iron. So I'm in there to make sure that I stay sharp. And this is going on. I go to the big stereo system to turn it down. I can't find the volume button, so I just unplug it. And he comes up to me. He's a big old kid, too, man. He got out to play semi-pro ball. So he comes up and he's like, you could have just told me to, or asked me to turn it down. And I looked at him. I was like, man, if we're going to play these kind of games here, then how about if I would have asked you to fix my gun, you should have fixed it instead of me spending the last couple days with my butt hanging out and not having such a great time. And he starts going off and saying that he's here helping out, and, you know, he's in, you know, as much danger as we are. And I got mad. And I looked at him. I was like, if you say one more word, I'm going to take this 45-pound plate, I'm going to put it right across the side of your face. And he just kind of looked at me, and I think he knew that I was very serious.
It was a threat, and that's what got it. Right?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we were talking about it yesterday. I would much rather kind of talk my way out of a situation, you know, sell a ketchup popsicle to a lady in white gloves. You know, I'm gonna try to talk my way out of it first, and then if I have to, you know, make ends meet, I'll make ends meet. But after that, he went and told his boss. His boss was my friend. Actually came up to me I think it was the next day. We were actually on a quick thing we had to go do and come back, and, you know, I'm on my way to go eat, and he's like, hey, we need to talk. I'm like, dude, we will talk, but we will talk when I get back. I have shit to do. And he didn't like that answer because at that time he outranked me. And when it comes to stuff like that in the military, some people get a little bit silly on those things. So we go out and do our thing, come back, and right when I got off of the helicopter, I got sent to a non-formal little pee-pee slapping, we'll call it. And was told that they didn't care what I had to say or what happened, that if I said anything, they were going to send me home the next day and ruin my career. They didn't send me home the next day. They just made my career go this way for a couple years.
Did you ever recover from it?
Yeah, man. And you know what? Again, like we were talking about earlier, an adverse situation turned into something positive. I'm in a great place in my job with all the experience and stuff I've been through. I'm one of few guys left where I am that has all that, and you know, it put the brakes on advancement for me, which, you know, really wasn't a bad thing. I'm a more senior guy in my level now, and with the maturity and knowledge that I've gained over years of doing this job, it puts me in a good spot to really be able to give back. Had I gone to the other place, I would have just been really, you know, a dime a dozen. So it really worked out.
I didn't mean to put you on blast on that one, man.
No, dude. Like I said, I'll talk about whatever it
I
is.
just like the story because it's like a story of righteous anger on your part.
Yeah, I want to punch him in the face.
And you paid the piper on it.
Yeah, been there.
And it worked out. You made the best of that situation where other people would have, you know.
You can't stove up, man. You guys got to keep going. You know.
You've had some close calls. You know?
Yeah.
You've had some like really close calls.
Yeah, I'm. I
I mean,
mean, cats have 9 lives, I guess. I'm kind of as a cat. I'm getting fairly limited. I think I'm somewhere in the wheelhouse, but I'm getting close.
What's the closest? What's the closest you've been?
Trying to think. What would be the closest? I mean, I was like a little over a year ago. I had a real close one, and one in which that, you know, got to the point of, we were talking about it earlier, I actually wrote a text message. I had my phone with me, wrote a text message out to my ex-wife and to my business partner at the time, you know, asking my business partner to, you know, hey, I think this shit's going south, and just take care of my family, do everything you can to take care of my family. My ex-wife, I just sent a message and just apologized for everything and said, you know, I have, you know, funds set aside to make sure that, you know, you are taken care of, as well as my dogs. I love my dogs. So, you know, I sent that, and I hit send and turned my phone off because, I mean, we're in a different country. You don't have Wi-Fi or anything like that, but when we get back to base, we do. So I figured whenever they recovered my body that they turned my phone on, and
You were that confident it was over.
I wouldn't call it confident.
Was it the closest you think you've ever been? In that moment when you made that text message, you obviously thought that.
In the exact moment, not the closest. I mean, I've had a lot of close calls, but that's the only time that I don't necessarily say throwing my hands up, but I was like, you know, as far as ways out of this, and I'm pretty good at kind of
Maneuvering
finding my way
out of
through just any situation in general. I mean, even telling a big dude that's probably going to beat my ass, I'm going to put a 45-pound plate across his face, defuse that situation from me getting my ass tied in a knot. And this one right here, I'm just sitting and thinking every different kind of avenue. I was just like, man, I guess we'll see. So kind of wanted to prep that just in case something happened, because, you know, none of my paperwork there really had anything in there saying, you know, if something were to happen, you know, I have my will and things like that. But, you know, nothing that I ever write anything to really kind of say, hey, you know, this is how, you know, I feel and I'm sorry. So that's where I wrote it there. And
It was in the moment.
yeah, just sitting in the truck, just getting eaten up by mosquitoes, and I ended up getting dengue fever. It's like the step down from malaria when we end up getting back. But yeah,
What does dengue fever do?
it just messes you up, man. I just felt like
Stomach?
garbage. Not so much stomach.
Ugh.
It's like a blood type thing. So getting really bad headaches and stuff like that just mess you up pretty good. I was just off feeling.
This is our first podcast we've ever smoked a cigarette.
Nice. I'm glad to be a first.
Yeah. Well, this is like, you know, talking life and death.
And it's a nature of the beast when, you know, you have a job that just kind of takes you to different countries to do different
yeah.
things.
Military guys who are watching this right now, I know there's going to be guys who are relating with what you just said, man.
Yeah, man. Dude, it's a saying, you know, I've done more than some and less than others. I mean, there's guys on there done much more than me, and I tip my hat to them, and I appreciate everything that they've done. I mean, guys like that are, a big part of why everybody is who they are. I mean, I was talking about, this belt buckle and stuff, going through my dad's dresser drawers every time I go home. And dude, it's so cool. I didn't even think about this till now. The World War II Victory Campaign Medal. Something my dad got to wear on his chest, man. So cool. And I got this thing in my hands. I'm like, holy shit, man. This is neat. Predecessor, great-grandfather to the job that I currently have. This dude's, people storming beaches, doing this stuff where they didn't know what body armor was. None of that stuff, man. He's swimming through beaches and blowing up obstacles that are keeping from, boats from landing and stuff like that. I mean, just.
Did your dad ever open up to you about that ever?
No, man. I remember asking him. My sister actually remembers stuff a lot better than I do. I remember at times asking him, just, as you're a kid, you're just like, oh, did you kill anybody? And he would just be like, oh, I shot at people. That's all I really remember. But, as I look at his medals and stuff like that, I see combat action. I see different things that, he got. So I'm able to ascertain from, seeing that, and knowing his job at this point.
Questions about what
I can answer my own questions looking into it. So
how advanced, in your opinion, are some of the weapons that we have gotten a hold of and created, in the recent times? I mean, are they really as futuristic to me, I guess? Because
obviously drones have changed.
Well, yeah.
yeah.
That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, and the fact
They're
that
like
those dudes can
lasers?
get like combat action shit from flying their little drone is bogus, man.
What's that movie I just watched? The guy freaking went crazy because he's flying drones. He can't deal with it.
He needs to go play like a little lollipop or something, man.
I'm talking
Flying
about like
drones
that
around.
Mars attacks kind of shit. Those little guns. Like, do we have anything like that?
Oh, you talking like that gun from like
Not
Men
a
in
terrible
Black?
movie, but no.
The neuralizer.
No,
I'm
man.
talking Mars attacks.
All I remember was little
Terrible
aliens
movie.
where you could see their
Yeah.
brains.
And then they start playing that yodel diddle doo song or whatever it is, and then they all go away.
I mean,
Bad movie.
just as kind of we've talked about over the last 2 days, just foundational stuff is what I really kind of pay attention to. That stuff we'll always be able to revert back to, and it's something that we can always grow from. As far as
Futuristic stuff, though.
Anthony,
What, dude?
what futuristic stuff?
as far as like
There's
laser
stuff
guns
you see
and
on
stuff.
TV that
Mars
like.
attacks.
No, I'm talking about like forces that you can take out masses of people without guns.
I mean, there's all sorts of different like bombs, GBUs, and stuff like that can be dropped that do, crazy and devastating things. But I mean, as far as something like that, nothing I know of.
My biggest question would be, did the last administration, you don't got to answer this, you don't have to answer this at all.
Mm-hmm.
The question is that I have, but did the last administration really arm Al-Qaeda in Syria? Like, that's something that I really, really want to know. Are we, obviously I know that the military complex is a real thing, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And the money has to be made. If Lockheed Martin's not building planes, that could like destroy our economy.
They don't got Lockheed Martin over there.
I'm talking about for America. We have to be building stuff to keep things going, and I understand that. But the fact that we would,
How else would they get those weapons?
Go to a region and do,
Honestly, I got no clue. I think we've talked about it. I pay attention to what affects my personal bubble.
You're right.
I'm not going to be able to change all the people that are trying to get into Texas. Like I said earlier, I was like, I'll donate a brick, but, what am I going to be able to do? I can't give these millions of dollars. If I had the money, I'd go build a damn wall myself. I get my ass beat by a bunch of liberal nerds, but, it's just
The older I get,
how
I
it
realize
is.
that nobody in government represents me and my real feelings.
I affect my little bubble as long as I got a positive ring around me, man. I'm good. Like we talked about, natural disasters, things like that. Stuff I know that I can help with. If I can help raise some money or stuff around the house that I don't need that could help somebody, man, I'm all about helping in that way. But I mean, there's so many other things that just really aren't gonna help. Unless I can get the masses to follow me, which just ain't my thing. I like my little personal bubble. I'm not really gonna be able to affect anything, unfortunately. Or am I smart enough to create some sort of laser gun?
No. No, man.
Futuristic stuff. The future.
No, I'm okay. Not that long ago, it was like news,
Remember the Moab?
atomic bomb.
yeah.
No,
Moab?
nuclear bomb hits Afghanistan. What? Year and a half ago.
Moab.
The Moab.
Yeah.
The mother of all bombs.
Yeah, the Moab. All right, if you put the news on and you saw that, when you did see it, it sounded like we just nuked Afghanistan.
Oh man.
In the
that place is so
initial-
big.
In the initial headline.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't the nuclear part of it.
I mean,
What's the difference between the mother of all bombs and the ones from Hiroshima?
It was
and
probably more. It was more ethically accepted in the public.
And why?
The public's because the public's eye.
Okay, if the public eye wasn't there, how would
it's just so everything's just so precise now. You have
to be very careful about how you handle war and combat. Yeah.
man, yeah.
Because you're being watched, and now people have their emotions are tied in at home.
Oh yeah. The U.S. doesn't have the stomach for another war, anything, and we're the money. Really.
Well, in life too. I mean, people have that compassion, and it's one thing to hear. It's like the Ray Lewis thing, It's if you heard about him hitting his wife in the elevator, yeah, it's bad. But then you see it, it's like you're gone. Get out of the NFL. Like no
Yeah.
more. We saw it. It's different,
Well, yes and no. I mean, people saw 9/11. They saw what happened, and that brought the whole country together for a year, maybe. And then the people that really gave a shit stuck around. The people that really, we had the conversation earlier, and you made the comparison. You said, if D-Day were to happen right now, you're your age and you're married with children, would you go? Without a hesitation, 100%. I'm there.
Dang.
1,000%. Because that's my duty to give back. I have to be somebody, like we said, if I'm perceived as a leader through a group of people and I say no, now they're going to say no.
Yeah.
And that's just going to cause that domino effect of people not wanting to give. And, we've been given so much that, you got to give back.
I want to tell you a story about my dad. I'm not sure if I ever told you this story. I might have. But, growing up, Veterans Day and Memorial Day, my dad, who wasn't a military man, who was first generation Italian, whose first language was Italian, those days, he made it a point to me and Anthony to sit us down and to, as best as he could, explain how important these days were.
That's great.
There were times where tears would flow down his face as in appreciation for the veterans who were lost. Now, I don't tell this story to make my dad sound great. I tell the story because it's true.
Yeah.
My dad had something in him, a patriotism and proud, because he knew the lives that had been lost in the past for the lives that we have today.
It's 100%, man. And there's so many people now that it's a sense of entitlement. So many people, they feel that they're entitled to everything because of who they are. But what have you done today?
I think one of the big issues with it now is that we have all of this information now. It's like people
Right here.
Yeah.
Google.
It's like we can decide on a whim if we agree with what we're doing or not, and we feel like if we don't agree with it, then we can take a step back. the 17, 18-year-old boys in Normandy didn't have that
luxury.
Didn't have that luxury. The boys in Vietnam and the Korean War didn't have that luxury.
And the Civil War.
Okay?
They didn't even know what they were fighting for, half of them.
So it puts today's day and age, whether we like it or not, in a peculiar situation when it comes to public opinion.
I personally think, and honestly, I don't give a shit who will agree with it. I think every single person should serve 2 years. And that alone would give some sort of appreciation. 2, it would give some OJT. I mean, there's so many people that go into a job field, they're like, ugh, this sucks, man. You can go into the military and do a little bit of that, man.
100%.
Do that.
I'm 100%. I think we could fix a lot of the illegal immigration problems in this country. If you want to be illegal, you want to come to this country, no problem. 2 years in the military, you get out, here are your papers, baby.
Bro, and I honestly think those people would be more apt to join than so many others. There's so many guys that I've met through the military. There's one dude that I've worked with that came from, I think it was Ghana somewhere. He won a lottery to come to the U.S. and learned English in that time, learned everything that he could, earned his citizenship, and then hopped into what I'm doing as well, and so many other guys earned his place to be there, and he is more thankful than many people I know, and probably more knowledgeable on a lot of the topics in the U.S. than other people are, because he wasn't given that U.S. citizenship. He had to earn it, and people are just so, I mean, I've gone through a lot of life not understanding to be thankful for things. You know, 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't be sitting on this podcast with an open mind towards things, or a positive mind towards things. Probably just beat my chest, sound like an idiot, and move on. You know, I've learned to be thankful for positive and adverse situations. And there's so many people in the U.S. that have been born with that, not even opportunity, but just born with being a U.S. citizen, that, you know, they think that you are somebody or you deserve something.
It's free.
You have to get up, earn every fucking day.
No, someone
Earn
had
every
to
day.
pay the price.
There's no question about it.
And I think there's been like a disconnect in people and the reality of what had to happen in order for this to be the way it is. You know? So, like, you got what, 40? Yes, the wars, Iraq, Afghanistan, the first Desert Storm, all that stuff. But since it's been publicized, like, in the spotlight, it seems like people have taken it. I don't know. There's something about whenever we fight each other, like the Civil War, where you stand 18-year-olds up 50 yards away from the other 18-year-olds, and everybody shoots guns at each other and then reloads. That's like,
It hurts.
it's just murder, right? Until everybody dies.
Yeah, I'll tell you, for me and you right now.
I can't even
I know,
understand.
I get it. I get it. Sitting down with Patrick right now,
Oh.
we like earlier, we take things for granted, and then you're bringing up some points that really are making us think.
Yeah, I'm like getting passionate over here about this, man.
You're making us think. And out of the past couple of days, before we close this thing off tonight, I want to say a couple of things that I have. I always get something from you. Taking a step back, assessing the situation. This trip here, I'll tell you right now, in my personal life, in my work life, I'm going to be doing that more often. Thank you.
Amen.
The framework that you were describing yesterday of when you're in growth in business,
Foundational.
having that framework that you feel comfortable with, that you built the framework.
Mm-hmm.
You have a platform for yourself in success or failure. In the failure we learn, in the success we keep on going. Okay.
Yeah.
And those are two things that I've learned. There's some other things I always pick up from you. You're an inspiring man.
Definitely.
I'm proud to be your friend.
My pleasure.
And
Family, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
love.
You beat me up.
Not to be. I know you don't like feelings, but
I just don't understand them.
I love you, buddy.
I
Thank
love
you,
you too.
Patrick.
Hey, my
Hopefully we
pleasure.
can do this more often.
Yeah, man.
Thank you,
Guys,
man.
Thank you
No,
for
you're
watching,
totally.
and we'll see you guys soon.